So today I am going to go over the materials that we are going to need when we create a small works of art that we are going to put inside of our explosion book. So the first thing that you might want to reference is your color wheel. So I have a color wheel here that I'm just going to keep by me when I paint. I also have my watercolors. I sent everyone home with a set of these and a paint palette, and we'll talk about these here in just a little bit, so you'll need those. I have my paint brushes and I have them priming in some water right now, so you'll need some kind of a cup. I just have a pint-sized mason jar with my brushes in some water right now. And then I have some rubbing alcohol as well that we'll need for a couple of our techniques, and some salt too. So those are the materials that I need, along with my small pieces of paper, as we are going to be making small works of art. To start with, we are going to talk about our paints. Now these are watercolor paints, but they're not the watercolor paints that you're used to, as they don't come in a pan already out. You have to put the colors that you want to use in your tray. I have already put some of these in my paint tray from another project that I did. And this I actually did, I think, yesterday. And you can see that now they are dried up, and that's okay, because I can just use some water now and bring these colors right back to life. When I pull these out, so I already have my warm colors here. So now I'm going to switch to my cool colors. And when I pull these out, they're going to be in a kind of a liquid form here. And none of these tubes have been used before. So you might just want to have a paper towel handy, because sometimes right away, the first little bit, it might be kind of have some kind of liquid in it that you don't want to mix with your paint. And I'm just going to put like that. That's exactly what I'm talking about there. Okay, and I'm just going to put a little bit of my blue there. I don't need a whole lot. I can always add more later. So I'm just going to do some cool colors, as I already have my warm colors there. Okay, now I have my paint tray all ready to go. So you're going to want at least a red, orange, yellow, green, blue, and purple in your tray. You might want some kind of neutral too. I would stay away from the black. I did add a brown to my tray. And you really don't need white either. And I will kind of talk about that later when we get into watercolors, but you do want kind of one of your primary and secondary colors on your color wheel, and then whatever other colors, if you are really drawn to a different color, maybe you really like the yellows, you want to include both of the yellows, that would be fine. You've got a couple extra spots in your tray to include some of the other colors there. When I paint, I try to keep a scrap piece of paper on my surface so that I can paint all the way to the edges and I don't feel like I'm going to get my work surface dirty here. I said I already have my brushes priming in my water, so that's always a good thing to start with right away, is get those brushes soaking in the water. The first technique that we're going to talk about is doing wet on wet. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start with just a clean brush, and I am going to get my whole paper wet here. Okay, and I want to move kind of fast when I'm doing this technique because I don't want my paper to dry before I add my paint. So now I've got my paintbrush, and I'm going to grab some paint, and I'm just going to use some water to get my dried paints ready. And then you can see how, because that paper was already wet when I added that red, it kind of spread, and it's going to help kind of blend and mix my colors really well. Now when I'm placing colors next to each other, I want to consider what colors are going to mix well together. And we talked about that with our last project with our gradation exercises. So I know that red and orange are good colors to place next to each other. because they are analogous. Okay, and if I want this to blend a little bit more, I could take my wet paintbrush and try to blend those together. Maybe go back and get some orange. Try to blend that into my yellow a little bit more. Okay, and I'm just going to use all warm colors here. Okay, so our first couple of artworks we're going to do are just going to be purely experimental. And then we'll move into more actually creating abstract works of art to include in our explosion books. And you'll get to decide which techniques you've really enjoyed so far and you want to explore a little bit more when you do your abstract works. Okay, so there's my wet on wet. It's just going to really help with blending colors together, kind of giving a tie-dye kind of look as they kind of spread out. So that's all that technique is. Today, that is all I want you to do. I want you to work on getting your materials together. I want you to work on getting your paint tray set up and getting your wet on wet abstract artwork done. Once you have that all done, I do have a link for Flipgrid in Google Classroom. I would like for you to just add a short video there showing me your paint tray setup so that I can see that you have all of your colors that you need, plus maybe a couple extras. And I would also like for you to show me your wet on wet technique. If you have any questions about it, please leave those there and I will answer them. If you have anything that you want to share, go ahead and tell me that there.